Everybody, I'd like to call to order the February 21st, 2023 Board of Education regular meeting at 7 p.m. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Berardi?
Here.
Mrs. Deck?
Here.
Mrs. Lala? Here. Mr. Mazzano?
Here.
Mr. Palazzo?
Here.
Mr. Terfuzio?
Here. Okay, we do have a quorum. Thank you for that. We're going to stand for the pledge. Today, we're going to be led by the Lee Kindness students. So lead our pledge. Go ahead, guys. Thank you, guys. That was a great job. Mr. Berard, could you read the mission statement, please?
Sure. The mission of Norwood School District 80 is inspiring educational excellence in a nurturing environment.
That was great. Thank you. All right, celebration of success time. Who'd like to kick us off?
So I'd like to get us started. We have some students here from Lee School who participate in the Great Kindness Challenge. So if we can welcome them up for a moment to share a little bit about how we participate in that.
Absolutely.
All right, well, first, why don't we go through really quickly and you can just introduce yourself to everyone. Just say your name.
I'm Sammy. I'm Kylie. I'm Luca. I'm Peyton. Joey. I'm Ava. I'm Zlata. Mia. Santino.
All right, nice job, guys. Now let's tell everyone a little bit about the Great Kindness Challenge.
The Great Kindness Challenge Week is all about making a more kinder and compassionate community for all.
For our Great Kindness Challenge kickoff, we had a visit from BMX champion Matt Moon. In this picture, Matt is jumping over Mr. Saji and Mrs. Schulteis.
Each day there was a different theme and challenge. On Monday, the Dream of Kindness Day. All our students wore their favorite pajamas on pajama day. Our kindness challenge was give 5 friends a high five today.
On Friday, the Tigers at Lee School were Lee School Pride and said something positive to a Lee School staff member.
The Norwich Police Department and Norwood Park Fire Department welcomed us into the school while we walked to our class.
We worked on a kindness checklist. We tried to complete 30 acts of kindness.
Some examples are help set up or clear the dinner table, wave to 25 people, write a note to the principal.
How can I change the world? One act of kindness at a time.
Right, that over there. So thank you all for coming out. We really just wanted to take a moment to honor all of our students who participated in the Great Kindness Challenge. And this was just a representative of our student body. So thank you all for coming. You guys did a great job. One more round of applause.
Actually, hold on. Stay right here.
Okay, say kindness.
Kindness.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You did a great job.
Thanks again, guys. You guys did a great job. Thank you. Okay. That was a brief. As we're still in celebration of success, anybody else have anything else?
Yeah, I'd like to say something real quick, and I'm sure you're going to cover it as well, but I was there, so congratulations to both girls teams. I was there watching the championship game, very proud, a great representation. They did wonderful. Just want to say congratulations to them. I'm sure you're going to cover that, but I was there and I just wanted to say on my behalf, congratulations.
Thank you very much for sharing that. I just would like to add that at next month's board meeting, both basketball teams will be in attendance to celebrate with you as well. So we're super excited, and that's planned for next month. So thank you, and thank you for sharing that.
One other celebration from the special education department is we have actually been able to finish up our transition meetings with Ridgewood High School. We still have a couple more for some of our outplay students, but right now that we have actually been able to successfully go through all of our 8th grade students. They've been able to share some of their aspirations for high school as well as where they're planning to go. We've had some wonderful collaborations with the teachers at Ridgewood, and we've had some really great conversations about how we can kind of help them to progress from Giles and move on to the next stage of their education. So we're very, very excited for all that's to come.
Anyone else? All right, thank you everyone for that, for your comments. Moving on to our action item, and ask the board to consider the approval of the agenda as presented or potentially modified. All right, no discussion, Renzo, then motions, Deanne, seconded by Frank. And then we'll take a roll call.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Palazzo?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano?
Okay, carries. Correspondence, there's no correspondence to report this month. From now, from the next meeting. Public participation, do we have anybody, did anybody sign in? Save Mr. Mazzano the trail. All right. Thank you. All right, FOIA requests, as always, we'll read them out. They'll be on our website probably tomorrow. Full transparency. Request number 1 by Mr. Nathan Melnich. Mr. Nathan Melnich from the Illinois Retired Teacher Association requested the following: the name and email address of any certified staff, that includes teachers, administrators, nurses, counselors, and anything in addition, who are retiring this year. Please provide the request records electronically, and then provided an email address for it. Second one, Mr. Josiah Charrington. Mr. Charrington from Local Lab requested the following: provide employee information, specifically teachers, with the following data points for the years of 2020, 2021, and 2022. Data points being first name, last name, position, job title, department, pay rate, and year-to-date gross pay. Third and final FOIA request since last board meeting was from Mr. Ricardo A. Mora. Mr. Mora requested the following: identify all money received since 2017 by donations, fundraisers, parents groups, and any non-government source, identifying what said funds were used for. That completes our FOIA information. Presentations.
Thank you.
Mrs. Uzi.
I'm going to begin with the American Rescue Plan ARP ESSER 3 grant. A quick presentation this evening. So the ESSER grants, ESSER 3 is the third one, the ARP grant, in the grants that were given from the federal government during COVID. The money was given for the prevention and for planning for COVID or for an event like COVID. The grants, number 1 was used by our district right when COVID hit in 2020 for the purchase of one-to-one computer devices. ESSER 2, we're still currently working in right now, which we have things like summer school, the summer in ESSER 2, things of that sort. Today I'm highlighting ESSER 3, the ARP grant, which is a little bit over $1 million grant that we're finalizing our use for it at this point. So the state and the federal government have a couple stipulations on the money. Not less than 20% must be allocated towards learning loss. That's a federal grant requirement. In addition to that, there are a couple of state requirements. One of the state requirements is that we set aside 5% to address learning loss in addition to the federal requirement. And then we have to set aside no less than 1% towards summer enrichment and then after-school programs. Those are both state mandates. So here's what we're proposing as the breakdowns of funds. Summer enrichment is that little piece right there that we have less than 1% on, and then the next screen I'll give you the actual dollar amounts. The after-school program, we're not extending much money in the ESSER 3 grant for after-school programs because, as you recall, we have the CURES grant, C-U-R-E-S, which is a 2-year, $200,000 grant that we secured that we're paying for some after-school tutoring and then the after-school enrichment program with the Norwich Park District. I did hear today that they are going to extend that grant to a 3rd year, which will be really exciting. They're not extending the money, but they're extending the availability to use the money. So it's still very exciting. The orange section on there, we are proposing for air quality, and I'll go through that in detail. And then the learning loss and technology are the 2 additional areas. So if you look at the breakdown, we are proposing about $700,000 towards air quality HVAC systems. This will be the final replacements of the additional chillers that we have not replaced yet. 1 chiller at Giles and 1 chiller at Lee. These are the big chillers. This is also some ventilation system for the lunchroom here at Lee downstairs. And replacement of the Tiger Territory unit and the unit that is over the Lee admin offices. So this will replace, kind of bring up to current all of our chillers, all of our air handling units. Also put in that air handling in the lunchroom here at Lee to have more air quality, move air around. The second that we've already purchased is the $142,000 in interactive boards in 30 classrooms. Updated those boards. The set aside for learning loss, $23,000 will go to after school, summer school, after school programs, some professional development, some additional staff. We have one of our social workers, piece of our social worker inside there for the additional staff piece. And the after school tutoring would be for the following school year for some newcomers, for students who are new to the country. Summer enrichment is ESL support, and that would be for students who are new to the country. And then another piece, those 2 bottom ones are the state set-asides, would be some after-school SEL support, some social groups that can meet during the 23-24 school year. And that is our final allocation of the ESSER funds. Do want to remind the board that once the ESSER funds are finished, we will have to go back to conversations about charging for after-school enrichment programs, charging for summer school. These are things that we've been afforded the luxury of not having to pay for due to federal funds from COVID. After 2024, summer of 2024, all that will be gone. Kind of will hit a cliff at that point. I have heard that they may extend the money past September 2024, but I haven't heard that's for sure yet. And then they're not allocating any new dollars, just being able to allow us to use the money past September 2024 is a possibility.
Any literature that goes home with kids or any emails and parents that keep mentioning that once the ESSER money is gone.
Yeah, and I think we have to have a meeting with the Park District, which I think we're going to have soon anyways, and discuss how we want to take the next step. If we are allowed to use the CURES grant into the 24-25 school year, then we probably do want to start maybe charging half what the cost is for the classes next year, and then continuing it the year after, because then at least we have a 2-year benefit. Right now, what we're doing is we're putting the amount of money that the class cost on the flyer with a line through it, just for pure awareness.
Oh, yeah, do understand.
But I think when we meet with the Norwich Park District Committee, which should be meeting soon, we'll have to make those decisions. I think that we have taken a little extra time to decide what we're doing with our funds. Many districts have already used them and spent them, and we have really been very deliberate and intentional on how we want to use the funds best to our district. I'm pretty proud of our plans that we put in place. We did have input from the teachers. We had input from all the staff on what would be best for our funds. Also, I should say also the board with the strategic plan meeting that we had last year. Are there any questions about extra funds? Wonderful, thank you. I'm just gonna switch gears. The second presentation that we have tonight is on the strategic plan, the district strategic plan, and the school improvement plans. As you recall, we presented the school improvement and the district plans to you last year. We did an update on them in October. So this is staying within our second update of our plans. So we'll start off with our first goal for the district plan, and that is to be fiscally responsible, student-centered decisions regarding finances and allocate resources to ensure success and excellence. What we've completed is we have 33% fund balances, which is what we have in policy. What we have in progress are allocating resources to the school improvement plans, which Mr. Biecki and Dr. Abiola will go over with you in a moment. We have looking at other revenue sources, which we are constantly looking at different grants that we can apply for. We're being transparent about our financial plans at board meetings. What we have not started yet is we have not done a presentation to the community organizations, PTA, or met with NSF about our strategic plan of being fiscally responsible. So that is something we're still working on. Goal 2 was, as you recall, about our kindergarten students. And our goal is to have our kindergarten students receive equal numbers of instructional minutes for ELA and math, regardless if they are full-time, full-day students or half-day students. What we've completed so far is we have our ELL teachers working inside the classrooms so that we are no longer pulling any students out of the classrooms, which enrich their experiences inside the classrooms and give them the support they need. We are in progress of Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions for half-day students outside the classroom. We have sent out some parent questionnaires so we can get to the heart of what we can do to improve our programs. We have evening events to support learning at home. We have one of those coming up in May for the kindergarten team. And we've been studying our half-day minutes and how we can provide more time for our half-day students. What we have not started yet is promoting our full-day program, although I have a little plan about that I'm going to speak to you about today in my presentation. And some summer work that we have put together for families. That would be for the summer when they leave us. So we'll start working on that as well. Just stop me if there are any questions. Goal 3 is to provide a safe, secure, and well-maintained facilities for 21st century programs and promote learning. We have a 10-year facilities plan that we're moving along and checking things off as we go. We have our ongoing assessment for safety. We are working on our modern and welcoming environment, which we can speak a little bit more about our plans on later today. We're upgrading our lighting, so whenever we upgrade a space, we also upgrade the LED lighting in that space. We're upgrading our technology infrastructure, and we're looking at appropriate space for our preschool program and growing our program. We're kind of in progress with everything on that. I'm not sure that we'll ever really say that we have a 10-year facilities plan that's completed, because I think we're constantly looking at updating that plan, crossing things out when they're completed and adding new things. But I can share with you in the next 3 years, we're going to be really looking at every surface in both of the buildings and updating all of our mechanicals, updating every area that we have except roofs. So we're going to be, we are in very good shape with our facilities. working on that modernizing and welcoming environment is important too. We're working on that. Our fourth goal is to provide teachers with individual prep time when providing space and time for collaborative meetings. These are mostly over in our completed side. We completed most of this during our negotiations with the current teacher contract. I left in progress the co-planning opportunities because we're still always looking for opportunities for our special education teachers and our general education teachers to co-plan together. But we definitely have a defined space and time for them to meet. We have defined data days. We have defined time for the admin team to meet with the teams, and they have defined time for team planning. And I'm going to ask the board if they have any questions about the district before I turn it over to Dr. Ravioli. Great, thank you.
Thank you. So our first goal that you'll see up there focused around our percentage of students who are making expected gains on the NWA MAP assessment in the area of math. And you'll see that we still have a fair number of items that are in progress. But a point I want to make about some of those items is that they may be something that's always in progress, because there are certain items where you can put them on a plan and say, oh, we can just cross that off as we completed that. But there are other things that become part of a cycle of just how we operate. So thinking about things like developing a professional learning plan, that's always going to be something that's, you know, that we're focusing on and we're adjusting as we go. That's like one of those things that's never fully completed, because you're always adding to it and building on that year after year. But you'll see we have our academic intervention committee that is working on developing an action plan on our tier 2 and our tier 3 systems. And also we are working to incorporate some, you know, parent workshops, including some of the evening events that are scheduled throughout the year. And those are things that aren't just, you know, a one and done and completed, but they cycle through and they continuously may show up on some of our plans. There are a few things that we're still you know, working on. One of them specifically that teachers and staff engaging in professional learning focus on universal design for learning, and specifically design construction. We haven't been able to get to that this year, and you know, quite honestly, we don't see it in our plan coming up right now. But that's something that we want to make sure that we're having that intentional focus in the future. So those are still part of our plans and things that we'll still be working on. And I would like to also just give a little bit of a report out of where we are now, since our goal was based on winter-to-winter data. So our goal was based on 60% of students meeting or exceeding expected gains. And currently, for this, from winter 2022 to winter 2023, we had 64% of our students meet or exceed expected gains. So we did meet our goal and exceeded that by 4%. And one of the things that I think is really interesting to look at is if you look at our 3-year average, we actually beat our 3-year average by 18%. Students making expected gains. So that's that, you know, a really great improvement in terms of our NWA math results. So moving on to our second goal, which focused on looking at reading, kind of just the flip side of that math goal. We still have a lot of work that's in progress. Like, look at that screen, it's hard to even read from here because there's a lot of things we're working on. But we have a lot of work, we have a lot of structures in place, we have committees that are formed that are working to address some of this. We're utilizing those early release Wednesdays to make sure that we're constantly working with our teachers and staff on working towards these improvement goals. And in thinking about this second goal and where we are now, this was a goal that we fell short of. We did not meet our goal for students making expected gains. We were looking for 60%. We had 54% of students meet or exceed for expected gains from year 2022 to 2023. I will say that we did maintain our 3-year average, which was in 54%. So we didn't drop down, but we definitely didn't see the increase that we were looking for. I will also mention that one of the things that has come up and was actually mentioned as a challenge in our SIP plan from last year was the fact that our 3rd and 4th grade ELA curriculum, which is the Lucy Hawkins Units of Study, was an area of concern, and the teachers weren't sure if it met the needs of our students. So that's something that we've been exploring some options are, and just kind of seeing what other curriculum options may be out there. And I think we have found a solution that we feel would be of a greater benefit to our students. So hopefully we'll have more information on that for you soon. And then moving on to goal 3. So this focus on social, emotional, behavioral supports, and specifically making sure that 90% of our students who were identified as needing support were actually receiving support. That's part 1. And then that each month 70% of those students would be on track towards meeting their individual goal. We've had a lot of work around this particular goal. We've had or recently we've had a lot of professional development for our staff, including last Friday when we had Damian LaPointe from West 40 came out and talked about restorative practices and also some trauma-informed practices, which was a really great professional development opportunity. So a lot of work is going into this plan, is going into that specific goal, and it is something that is still in progress. It's something we want to continue working on, and this is also a big part of our culture and climate committee and our tier 2, tier 3 behavioral intervention committee. And looking at where we are now with that particular goal. This one was a little bit more complex because it does have 2 parts. So we partially met that goal. We met part 1, where 100% of our students who were identified as needing a support are receiving a support. Where we need to continue to develop is our procedure for developing goals for students who are receiving that and also monitoring those goals. We have a check-in, check-out system that does a really great job at measuring that and giving us that data. But some of our social, emotional, behavioral groups, it's not as clear-cut because that might be a small group working with a social worker or a school psychologist. And the way that you would measure that growth when you're working in a small group and providing some resources for things like coping strategies or emotional regulation or things like that are not as clear-cut because you can't necessarily quantify it as easily as you could say a check-in, check-out, which is like a form where students would receive a different rating throughout the day and whatnot. So the good news is we met part 1, and you know what? We're going to continue to develop our systems to support part 2 of that goal. And I think that wraps up the 3 goals that we had in the week. Any questions for me?
Over at Giles for our school improvement plan, goal number 1 was 70% of our students will meet or exceed expected gains in math NWEA map measure of academic progress from winter 21-22 to winter 22-23. As you can see on the graph that's on the smartboard, we've completed a lot of areas and we have many areas that are in progress. As both Ms. Guzik and Dr. Ravioli have shared, many of these that are in progress are ongoing. Our after school, or I should say early release Wednesday committees are working, taking a deep dive, diving into areas where we need to look at to make growth, and also celebrate our successes as a staff. We do that each month during that time. So we have our academic intervention committee, which is continuing to create an action plan, and then also provide professional development per trimester. One of the things that I would like to highlight is to create a parent university to support parents on different topics. This Thursday here at Lee School from 6:30 to 7:30, we're going to be having an EL meeting to share with the community all the strategies that we are working with students and educating them on the different skill sets, and that is for our EL English language learners. And that'll be here at Lee School, 6:30 and to 7:30. For goal number 1 at Giles, we really took an aggressive approach. We really identified, we looked at everything from math. Where can we make changes? Where can we make adjustments so that we can see a significant amount of growth? And so as I said, we were looking to have 70% of our students meet or exceed. Actually, we had 68% of our students that met or exceeded. So we did not achieve our goal. However, we made double-digit growth in math at 14%. So we were 2 percentage points short of reaching our goal. But that's really great growth that we had. We want to continue taking that deep dive, identifying areas where we can make that success at, and we're going to continue to do that. Some simple things that we did last year is just changed how we take the test. From taking it stop drop and 120 minutes of testing to 45 minutes, we stop them, and then we do it the next day. We encourage everyone to get some rest, eat a healthy breakfast, get plenty of sleep, and also we use our PBIS assemblies to promote these assessments. We want success, and as I share with our students all the time, success begins with them. And so as a staff, we're here to support them. As administrators, we're here to support our staff and our students. And we're going to continue to be successful and continue to make growth. In goal number 2, again, 70% of our students will meet or exceed expected gains on the reading NWEA MAP, Measure of Academic Progress, from winter 21-22 to winter 22-23. As you can see in the chart that's on the smartboard, we have completed a lot of these tasks in this area. But we still have a lot that are in progress that are going to continue throughout the year. Again, our early release collaboration time is extremely important. It is very helpful. It allows us to identify, take a deep dive, and continue to move forward. In goal number 2, our actual was 64% of our students will meet or exceed expected gains on the reading NWEA MAP, Measure of Academic Progress, from winter 21-22 to winter 22-23. So on a 3-year average for students making expected gains in reading, it was 58%. However, this year, 64% made expected gains. So we didn't hit our mark, but we're making progress. And that's what we want to see. We don't want to be flatline, we want to see it going up. And that's what we're looking for. On goal number 3, the percentage of major referrals in cheating, defiance, disrespect, and inappropriate behavior language will decrease by 20% by the end of the 22-23 school year. As you can see, we've completed a lot. We still have a lot in progress, but we're working as a building, as a staff, and as students. We're constantly promoting positive behavior. We're constantly promoting what it means to be Giles made. And those are topics of discussions that happen every single day. And I'm always impressed when I'm having conversations with students and also parents to listen how to be Giles made is happening at home and within the community. So that needs to take place for everyone to be successful, and I'm happy to hear that. For goal number 3, we did achieve this goal. Over the past 3 years, the percentage of major referrals in cheating, defiance, disrespect, and inappropriate behaviors have decreased by 67%. That's huge, 67% growth that we've made. A lot of this is, again, that constant conversations that we have, the assemblies that we have to promote this positive behavior. Our assistant principal does an amazing job. She dedicates her time day and night. The work that she does is amazing, but conversations are so important with the students to continually to educate them. We understand the students at the middle school are going to make mistakes. It's working with them and educating them so that the mistakes don't continue to happen. And we've made significant growth in that area, and I'm very proud of that. That concludes my report. If you have any questions.
Both principals mentioned increases, some significant increases in math, and I'm glad to hear that. But not for the sake of letting reading slip. But that's always been good. My point is, you're talking about MAP scores, and I know MAP scores aren't directly comparable to IAR, but for someone like me who looks up schools in IAR, that's one way you could check one school against another. And math has always been a weak spot of District 8 for many years now. So I definitely encourage a special effort for any driving improvements in math. So I was glad to hear about both of you saying that goes with that. Continuous improvement in terms of that. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Move on to our administrative reports. Superintendent Susan.
Thank you. I just have a few things in my report today. Most of my stuff is done in discussion. You will notice in consent agenda that we do have a resolution tonight that is asking for a $1.8 million move from the working cash fund into the ed fund. As I reported, I can't remember if it was the last month or the month before, that we have done several movements from working cash to the ed fund. Then we moved them back once we started receiving tax dollars. The $1.8 million now will carry us through till the end of the year. That should be our last move. And we are hearing that the Cook County taxes that are typically due in March are now getting pushed back to April 3rd. So we're anticipating getting that money in a little later than we normally would. But we are expecting about $14 million of dollars to come in at that point. And then of course we put back the $1.8 million move from working cash into the ed fund. So that is on our agenda tonight. You also have in front of you, and it's also on our agenda, the 20-year ending of 2022 audit. As you may recall, the audit is very late this year. Really the major reason why it is late is because Cook County came out so late on their EABs that were sent out. So our auditors, as everyone else, I think the state said about 2/3 of the districts were late on the audit this year. So you have acceptance of the audit tonight. You have a copy of the audit with you as well. I wanted to thank NSF again for their donation of the safety doors at Giles. They were put in yesterday. That third set of doors, so if you come in entrance 2 at Giles, you can get buzzed into the first set. There's a second set of doors right there that are after the window, so if you want to talk to the nurse. And then the next set you would get buzzed in to where you have access to the nurse's office, but not yet access to the school. Those are not programmed yet, but they came in yesterday. They were donated by NSF, so we want to thank NSF. We've already accepted the donation a couple months ago, but just wanted to mention that they're on. They should be up and being used very soon. And then I just wanted to end with the principals and I met with a group from West 40 that work on videos and promotional videos for districts. And we've been looking at creating two smaller promotional videos. One highlighting our preschool program, as well as our full-day kindergarten program. And then one highlighting Giles, especially that movement from 4th grade to 5th grade at Giles. Just being able to focus on that change when you move over to the middle school. And then eventually a little bit of a longer video just highlighting the district. So something we've started conversations on that is part of our strategic plan of being able to promote promote our programs. I think it's something that the board is an interest in as well. So we're just starting preparations. Really exciting stuff. And that is my report.
Questions from the board? Okay, Susan, thank you.
Thank you.
Special education, Mr. Master.
Yeah, so a couple of just interesting points for us coming up. One of the big ones that we're looking towards with the special education department is we are actually, as we're getting closer to the end of the trimester, we've already been collecting data, but we'll be pushing out goal updates yet again. We do this every trimester in accordance with grades to give kind of that regular progress update for parents to know where their child's areas of deficit are and if they're continuing to close the gaps. With that in mind, we actually have already started looking at our next data days, which is some of the data that I've been sharing from the last couple of board meetings. So that we have tentatively scheduled for the end of March, going into the first week of April due to spring break. So you'll be hearing more about that in the coming months. The SPED committee has also been very instrumental in the last couple of weeks as well. We've been working through a couple of different potential professional development ideas and times. Still very, very early rough stages, but they've also been very helpful in talking about how we allocate special education services for our students who are not making progress, so we will hope to continue those conversations in the future. Another positive note on the whole is we've actually been able to have a really great opportunity, and I know you'll be talking more about this later, but to actually forge a new relationship with another outplaced school. Our new school is Parkland Preparatory Academy in Bartlett. They've been really great in making sure that they serve students with disabilities who have not had success in a traditional public school setting, and they give that therapeutic support. So they have offered a really nice balance of a social, emotional, behavioral type of supports network in addition to that academic piece that is so important. They've been very, very supportive and really focused on empowering our students. So we felt very strongly that this would be a great relationship to forge forward with, and we're very excited to continue our collaboration with them. Lastly, the next piece that our special education department has been focusing on is ESY, which stands for Extended School Year program. For those of you who don't know, it is a little bit of a difference in that between summer school, where we are talking more specifically about the providing a program related to a child's disability beyond the normal school year in accordance with their IEP, so that it is continuing that support. A lot of times students do suffer that summer slide that I think we all are kind of aware of, and it's important for especially our students with disabilities to continue that. This is based on a per teacher referral, so we're continuing to gather those as we kind of plan for that in the future. So more information will be coming in the next couple of months. And that is my report.
Move on to our building reports. Dr. Rivera, Mr. Banner.
Thank you. So we recently had our talent show, which was a great event with a range of talents that were showcased that evening. I just wanted to mention that, and also to thank the board for making sure that events like that are possible. I think it's always fun to see the kids up there and just sharing what they find enjoying with everyone else. So, we have conferences coming up right around the corner, a couple weeks away here. Thursday, March 9th, and also Thursday, March 16th. We are also gearing up for IAR testing, which was just mentioned recently. That window will be opening up March 6th, I believe. I think we're going to start testing March 7th and through the 17th. So that's for our third and fourth graders here at Lee. We were, I guess, lucky to be chosen to have an additional testing session this school year for our third and fourth graders. So typically we have 2 ELA and 3 math. This year we have 3 and 3, so a total of 6 sessions. And the thing is, they don't tell you which one's really the testing one that they're piloting anyways. Our group parent program has been going really well. That's something that we're partnering with the PTA on. They helped to organize some Valentine's Day celebrations recently, and there were a variety of crafts and all planned by parents in those classrooms. So just wanted to give them a shout out to that we appreciate all the support and things that they're doing for all of our students as well. We recently celebrated the 100th day of school, which is always exciting. So we saw a few older folks walking around the building one day. Yes, I saw a student walking through the building with a cane, and I was saying, well, that's interesting. So you never know what you might see on the 100th day of school. This week is Student Appreciation Week. We have a Spirit Week, and also we'll be ending the week with a student favorite of Freeze Pop Friday. Mr. Biedke earlier mentioned that we have an ELL parent meeting on Thursday at 6:30, so wanted to make sure that was highlighted as well. And our after-school programs are all off to a great start. They started the week of January 23rd. We have the after-school enrichment programs through the Norwich Park. We also have booster groups that are running 4 days per week until 3:30 for students who qualify for reading intervention. And we also have some tutoring groups that run twice a week after school for an hour, and that's specifically targeting students between the 25th and the 50th percentile to try to give them a little bit of a boost before the kids. And that will conclude my report.
At Giles School, at the end of January, we had some dances that were well attended. So this year we decided, instead of having one large dance for 5th through 8th grade, that we would break it up into two dances, one for 5th through 6th, one for 7th through 8th. Attendance was great. We roughly had around 260 kids total that came to the dance, which is roughly half our student population. So that's nice. And I would like to thank our PTA and the many wonderful volunteers that came out. It was nice to see everyone there. Kids had a great time. The volunteers had a great time. So we're going to continue going with that concept of 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade dance for the future. Last week at Giles, we celebrated Student Appreciation Week. We had many wonderful activities planned. Kids seemed to have a great time. February 27th through March 3rd is Respect Week, and we are currently planning fun activities for the students. More info will be coming out regarding that. Last Thursday, the weather was not great. However, our community did not disappoint. They came out to Giles School for Night at the Museum. It was a huge success. The students had some wonderful projects on display that they were able to showcase and share with everyone. So it was nice to see families there, all having great conversations and students showing and being proud of their work. For athletics, again, great boys basketball season was awesome this year. We're excited about that. Girls basketball and scholastic ball, their seasons have begun. So we've already had 1 week in the books, and next week we start, we have a game home versus Lincoln, and then on Thursday we have another home game versus River Grove. So that's 2 games this week. Our Battle of the Books program is off to an amazing start. I believe at this moment, I think they're tied right now for first place. So Mrs. Quitno is the advisor for that, and the students are doing a wonderful job. That takes place at the Eisenhower Library. Another shout out to the Eisenhower Library. I would really like to thank them for working with us at Giles School to help us develop our new LMC space. And we do have a person that was hired for the position, soon to be hired for the position. And the Eisenhower Libraries come out and they're working together to develop that space. So I can't wait to get everyone in there so you can see that. It's really looking like a library now. So we're happy. As Dr. Rabiola said, our spring conferences will be happening on Thursday, March 9th and Thursday, March 16th from 4 to 8 p.m. I'd like to talk about the importance of student-led conferences. So 1, they empower students to take ownership for their learning by sharing their goals and progress with others. 2, they provide an opportunity for students to reflect on their learning and growth. 3, they foster communication between students, teachers, and families. 4, they allow teachers and parents to gain insight into student understanding and progress. 5, they offer opportunity to review map data and discuss areas of strength and improvements. And 6, they create a supportive and collaborative learning environment. So we're really excited and hope to everyone will be able to come out and just witness the growth that our students are making and also discuss some challenges and develop a plan moving forward. Conference emails were released back on Friday, February 3rd. So if you have not received that email, please make sure you email me, and I will make sure I will get the information out to you. So far, I've only had one parent email me that did not receive the link, and I took care of that right away. Other than that, that concludes my report, unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you both. Moving on to discipline reports. Mrs. Carnell from this week.
We don't have any discipline report this week.
And then board, you have in your board book, I don't see 0 tonight. Oh, you're gonna go ahead and do that?
Yeah, for discipline at Giles, we had one in-school suspension in violation of policy 7:190, number 5. We had 2 in-school suspensions for policy 7:190, numbers 9 and 21. And we had 1 out-of-school suspension in violation of policy 7:190, number 9 and 21. That concludes my report.
Thank you both. Mrs. Buzick, monthly staffing.
Yes, I've included the monthly staffing report in your board book today. We have a proposed hire for the title position that Mr. Bianchi was speaking about for the library on the agenda tonight. And we also have a letter of resignation from a teacher at the end, at the conclusion of the 22-23 school year. Other than that, we will be talking about next month about staffing and schedules for 23-24.
Okay. Thank you. Board committees. I'll start it off with board policy development, negotiations, education, parent-teacher advisory, and behavioral have no reports tonight. The last 4 that I mentioned are as needed. We haven't got a house. Building and grounds.
Nothing new besides the superintendent brief he gave us about plumbing, going well, piping, I should say, and excited to see plans for the build of the preschool. That's it.
We would like to schedule a meeting in March with the committee. You
Sure.
can speak about dates and then let me know when and Derek would like to meet with you.
Okay, thanks, Frank. Communications?
No.
Finance?
Nothing to report.
And Norwich Park.
Nothing new, but still, I'm sure we'll have some topics of discussion.
Okay. Consent agenda. I ask the board to consider the approval of the consent agenda. Any discussion? Okay, I'll now ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion.
Lou, seconded by Frank. Dan, roll call please.
Mr. Mazzano? Mr. Trabuzio? Mr. Palazzo?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Carries. Couple action items. Action item number 1. I ask the board to consider the approval of bid packages for preschool construction project at the school. Discussion. I'll ask for a motion to approve the bid packages for the preschool construction project at the school.
Motion.
Frank and Maria.
Oh, Maria? Oh. Sorry, dude, it's my right here. I heard Frank. Frank, second by Maria.
There it is.
Dan, roll call.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Palazzo?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano? Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Carries. As the board to consider a motion to approve the 2023 through 2024 detailed school calendar. Discussion on that.
Just have one question. This will, all breaks will mirror with the high school?
Correct. The winter break and the spring break are the same times as Ridgewood. Correct. You've already approved the ISB calendar last month. This is the detail now as far as the school improvement days, the days off, things like that. So that families, we've had actually a lot of families that want to start planning vacations, and I really do applaud people to take vacations on time when school is not in session.
Yeah, real quick, one thing this board made a point of is mirroring those schedules. And the last couple of years has been, again, we have confirmation that it is again. So if there's some rumors out there or some confusion as to it's not, those are false. So thanks for asking that. With that being said, I'll ask for a motion to approve the 2023-2024 detailed school calendar.
I'll motion.
Okay, Renzo, seconded by Frank. Deanne, roll call.
Mr. Berardi,
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio,
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano, Mr. Palazzo,
Yes.
Mrs. Deck,
Yes.
Mrs. Lala.
Yes.
And that carries. And as the board consider a motion to approve Chromebook insurance for the 2023 through 2024 school year with the Worth Allen Group. Discussion. Now ask for a motion to approve Chromebook insurance for the 2023 through 2024 school year with the Worth Allen Group.
Motion. Second.
Lou, seconded by Frank. Deanne, roll call.
Mr. Mazzano, Mr. Trabuzio,
Yes.
Mr. Berardi,
Yes.
Mrs. Deck,
Yes.
Mrs. Lala, Mr. Palazzo.
Yes. That carries. We have some discussion items. I'm going to turn over to Mrs. Guzzi.
Yes, thank you. Oh, I do have a lot of discussion items, but I'll go quick. Stop me if I'm going too fast. So we, this time of the year, we look at approving summer school for the district. So today I have it as a discussion item. Next month we will look for approval. The program is for our rising 1st through 8th graders. June 9th will be our teacher planning day, and then we'll have 14 days of instruction from June 12th through June 30th. June 19th, as you will recall from last year's federal and state holidays, there will be no school on that day. Hours will be from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon. As Mr. Masters spoke about, we will also be offering ESY. So ESY is not quite the same as summer school. ESY is individualized services to maintain skills and not lose the progress that students with IEPs have made towards their goals. It may include classroom or related services, meaning we may have speech during that time, we may have occupational therapy during that time as well, and classroom teacher services. They have the same schedule, so June 9th is the planning day, the 12th through 30th of the 14 days of, they're aligned with the 14 days of summer school with the 19th off, and then the same hours of 8 to 12 noon. Looking at finances, we are proposing to continue what we've been doing the last few years, where families pay $80 for District 80 summer school. We will refund the $80 if a student attends 80% of the days, which equal out to 11 of the 14 days. So what we actually do is keep track of that up to the very last day of summer school. We literally hand people back their checks on that last day of school, and anyone that didn't attend the 11 days, then we keep the $80. This is funded by ESSER 2 grant. We're budgeted right now for 15 teachers and 3.5 paraprofessionals. And in ESY, the district is required to provide ESY under the IDEA, it's not a grant, but under IDEA to families at no cost. Students are invited to participate in this program, so this is a little bit different. The teachers look for skills retention, or if students might possibly lose skills over the summer and decide who to invite to the program. We have a budget of 4 teachers and 5.5 paraprofessionals for that at this moment. So I'd like to bring both of those programs to you at the March 21st board meeting. We'd like to start summer school registration, which is typically a Google Doc, on April 1st, 2023. Typically we have between 164, 175 students enrolled in summer school, so I would anticipate somewhere around the same, maybe 180 And May 5th, we would end registration for summer school, and then ESY will do registration by invitation to the families. Any summer school questions? So last month, I spoke with you about curriculum and tuition fees, and you gave me some feedback of some things you might like to see. So I'm going to propose 3 changes for next year in regarding to curriculum fees and tuition. Number 1 would be a 5% discount savings for family if they pay their tuition or fees by August 1st. And I'll go into detail on what that savings would be. As just an incentive for families to pay their tuition or their fees at the time of registration. Removal from a program if tuition is not paid by December 31st. Now this is just a tuition-based program, and again, I'll go into a little detail about that in a moment. And then restructure our fee waiver procedures, which I again will go into some detail about. Here is what I shared with you last month of proposed preschool and kindergarten tuition and curriculum fees. And there's a bit of a longevity there from FY21 through 23, and then what I'm proposing for FY24 with tuition and curriculum fees. And then what that 5% savings would mean to a family. So if a family did pay their whole tuition for kindergarten and preschool, instead of being $2,800, that would be $2,660. So it's a savings. And then on the preschool fee side, it's only a $9 savings, but it's still a savings. You'll see as we go into the rest of Lee School that 5% savings does add up to a little more in some of the other areas of fees. Looking at Giles, the same type of savings. We would not have the 5% savings on any athletics or activities. Those have to be paid, so parents pay a check before a student even tries out. That has to be paid right away when a student's trying out for basketball, and the student doesn't make the team, then that check is returned back to the student. So we would not be looking at any reduction by August 1st for any kind of athletic fees. I'm going to keep going, but stop me if you'd like to run a division. So this is a difficult area, but I think it is something that we need to consider. And what I'm proposing is that if preschool tuition is not paid by December 31st of that year, that the student would not be able to attend until that tuition is paid. It's a similar thing that like the Norwich Park District does, other area schools do. If you get to a point where the tuition is not paid, you can't attend. I know that the student suffers. However, I think that we do need to come up with some language so that we get fees in a timely manner. Would be the same thing for kindergarten full day, that if it is not paid by December 31st, and of course this will all be laid out in policies, this will be a policy change we would have to look at next month as well, that we would move the student would not be eligible for the full day of attendance. They would be eligible still, of course, for the half day of attendance, because that's what we are mandated to do, but they wouldn't be eligible for the full day until that tuition is paid. And then the last part is our fee waiver procedure. So currently, we automatically waive families who qualify for government programs, such as SNAP or TAMA, and other programs like Medicaid. And then in addition, if a family is not automatically waived, they can always complete a waiver application, which are available on our website. That's our current procedure. What I'm proposing is that we continue to automatically waive for families that receive SNAP or TAMA. However, we do not automatically waive for any other programs. And families can still continue to complete waiver applications with evidence of their need. Certainly do not want to discourage families if they need a waiver, that still apply for a waiver, and we will process the waiver in the way that we process waivers. However, I am proposing that we don't do an automatic waive of families that are not requiring, that do not qualify for programs other than SNAP or TAMA. Looking at policy, which is 4:140, starts off at the beginning, just talking about how the superintendent will recommend the schedule of fees at the beginning and the notification of the fees. Then we go into eligibility criteria. Now, eligibility criteria here states that you would meet the criteria if your same income level is what they use for the federal free meals program. So a family can qualify for lunch directly through the state of Illinois for a federal free lunch. That is through the National School Lunch Program. We then give them free lunch. We waive lunch. What we have been doing in the past is taking that list and waiving all of our student fees. However, as of September, I'm going to go ahead a little bit here, September 1st of 2009, we actually are not required to do that through the state of Illinois. ISB guidance is that you do not have to waive everyone that qualifies for free lunch as long as you keep those two processes separate. So you have someone that handles the free lunch and keeps the free lunch separate, and then you have someone else in the office that handles waivers. That those two do not meet in the same way. When a family qualifies through the direct certification for free lunch, we go through a verification process every year where the state tells us how many families we can verify. We only were allowed to verify one family this year. So what we did, we reached out to the one family and we said, can you please provide documentation that you truly do qualify for free lunch based on the federal meals program. And the family this year did qualify. It was great. We are not allowed to check any other families, and that is in the National School Lunch Program. However, if we separate that out and have like literally a different person running our waivers, we can ask for anything we want for our waivers. We can ask for verification that people do qualify for the waiver. So what I'm suggesting is we still waive automatically SNAP and TAMP. Certainly families that have shown a need through the federal government. And that anyone else that would like to apply for a waiver, as long as they qualify with the need, we have no problem waiving. However, we don't automatically do it. We ask for evidence. This would be a policy change. Because in our policy, in our verification section here, we do say that you can require family income verification, but we need to go a little deeper into the details on our policy change. No board will know more here. I did not bring that to you tonight. If the board would like me to continue further with this, I'll bring that to you next month. We can pass the policy and then also pass the fees next month for this new fee structure. Certainly want to make sure that it is understood that if families qualify for a waiver, they should receive the waiver. That is not our intent, to not give waivers to families that need waivers. It is just to keep the two processes separate, to make sure that families that do qualify do receive it. And we would be able to do that within our office. We would have one person handling the National School Lunch Program and a separate person handling the waivers for fees, which is what we are required to do by the Illinois State Board of Education.
Roughly, overall, in the school year, how much are we waiving fees, total, roughly?
So with that automatic waive that we do at the beginning, we waive 47% of our families.
Okay.
So about half the fees that we set out that people pay. So do keep in mind, we can't then up the fees to everyone else. That wouldn't be fair.
Right.
We do, literally, the principals do go through curriculum and actually do come up with each dollar amount that we're spending. So that each family is covering what we are spending on first grade curriculum, second grade curriculum. Tuition, of course, goes off of salaries. I don't have a dollar amount for you,
Okay. All right.
but I can get that
I
for
got
you. But I don't have that.
And that's just that's not including lunch or any, this is just strictly
Strictly
fees.
fees.
Gotcha.
The lunch program, the National School Lunch Program runs differently, and we do get reimbursed for the National School Lunch Program. So if a child does receive free lunch, and they actually do order it and take it, then we get reimbursed for that. And that we pretty much get reimbursed for, dollar for dollar. We do not, however, what many people think that the state reimburses us for fee waivers. They do not. We do not receive any funds when a family's waived for fees.
And over, let's say, the snapshot of 5 years, has that percent been pretty steady? Has it been?
No, I think we've definitely seen an increase the last 2 years with how many fees waivers are coming through the National School Lunch Program. And then that is who we're automatically waiving right now.
So Michelle, do we have the capacity to have two separate individuals to track this, number one, number two, then how would they be trained in doing their job effectively?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the National School Lunch Program, Tammy's been working on already since Sarah has exited, and she has been trained through some online training with the state. We are going through an audit with the National School Lunch Program in April, which we're really excited about, because if we're doing something wrong, they're sure going to tell us, which is a great way for us to learn. But it wouldn't be Tammy, so it would be looking on the financial side. I've been the one who's been doing waivers at this point. And we think it probably would stay with me because it is a delicate conversation. And so that kind, because you would be, contact families, you do have to prove your need through tax, pay stubs, through taxes, what you filed. So it probably would stay with me at this point. What you can't do is like whatever I would find out in the waiver part, I can't influence the National School Lunch Program part. Just need to be separate. Any other question about these? My next topic here is the Preschool for All grant, which I know I haven't given you too much information on, but I'm ready to share some more things with you today. And what I think is really important, what I want everyone to hear today, is we have been approved on the Preschool for All grant for 34 at-risk students. So I want to make sure that everyone understands, and then the governor has had a lot to say about the early childhood grants recently and allocating more money in the budget, which would be great and would be happy to get additional funds. Right now, we are approved for 34 at-risk students. So what we've been approved for so far in the 22-23 school year is a planning year. So they are allowing us to go out to other districts. We have spent some time at Penoyer and at Union Ridge, meeting with them. Next week, Kimmy and I are going to Elmwood Park, because Elmwood Park runs a tuition program, an IEP program, and a Preschool for All program, where Union Ridge and Penoyer do not do that, so we should be able to learn a lot about the finance side and how to keep those programs separate in our finances. And then we're going to be looking at ordering furniture, curriculum, getting everything ready for the program for next year. So our next step then would be finalizing the calendar. A typical school calendar is 176 days, a school student attendance days. A Preschool for All school calendar is 163 days. So I will need to bring to you next month a new calendar for preschool specifically. Which also would include some parent events. We'll run a screening in late April, a screening in early May, and then a screening in the summer. In order to qualify for the 34 seats, it's a first come, first served basis, and it's based on a point system. We are also going to attend the March 24th screening at Penoyer, and pretty much everyone runs the screening the same way. So we will use the ISB form to run the screening. And the screening, as I'll go through with you on the next slide, is a point system. We also are required to hold seats for students who are coming out of early intervention through the state of Illinois. So we receive a list from the state of Illinois through early intervention of students that are receiving speech services or OT services now, that most likely will receive services in our district once they turn 3. And then next year, we'll be starting our program for our 34 at-risk students. The point system looks at, you receive 50 points if on these high priority areas. So homeless, foster, IEP students, TAMP, or income levels 50% below the federal poverty guidelines. For each of those areas that a family would qualify, they receive 50 points. And you do have to have evidence here, pay stubs, SSI, filed taxes, public benefits. There has to be actual evidence given on those areas. After that, pretty much everything is 25 points. So if a parent is a teen parent, a primary caregiver did not complete high school, a child is born outside of the United States, or a caregiver speaks a language other than English, you receive 25 points for each of those. Active military, if there are any screening delays that are seen during the screening, and any past preschool experience, or I should say lack of past preschool experience. One thing I do want to point out there, I know many people, or you may be thinking, we don't have homeless students in Norwich School District 80. However, under the definition of homeless, those are families that do not have a fixed nightly abode, or they may be doubled up with another family. So we do actually have quite a few families that are considered homeless in Norwich School District 80, especially our families who are new to the country that may be living with another family when they come from, and I can go through, when I go through our projections for next year, I can share that with you. So I just want to make sure everyone understands, and we will communicate this with the public as well. The preschool for all is certainly not preschool for all. There still will be 34 students that qualify for free tuition, and hopefully, as I understand, it's a 3-year approval, and then we get to apply again. And if we can show that we have had waiting lists, we could extend the amount of money that is allotted for us, or maybe with the $75 million that the governor is now putting towards it, we'll get additional funds. But this is where we are right now.
This point system, is it similar to the Union Bridge program? Or?
Absolutely the same.
Okay.
We have to run it exactly the same. This is from the state of Illinois. So our screening will look exactly the same. Interestingly, if we do have a student outside of Norwich, we do have to screen the student. So if it is a Chicago student, or a Union Ridge student, or Penoyer student, we still have to screen the student. And if by some chance that student actually scores higher in point system than a Norwich student, we would be required to take that student.
Where's that requirement come from?
The state of Illinois. On this actual point system that is on this little funnel sheet. So we're learning a lot. Sean and I, or Dr. Rabbiola and I, have met with a couple of companies about furniture and how to set up ourselves for success. We've visited some other programs. Like I said, we're going to be in Elmwood Park next week, and then at Penoyer in March to create the best program that we can for us. Looking on at our next item is projections. When I looked at the projections that we made last year, which would be this column of Pro 22-23, here's where we projected 1,070 students for the 22-23 school year. However, as you can see, we had a 55 student increase from where our projections were. That is directly correlated to students who are new to the country. People who have moved here from Ukraine, from Venezuela, that are living with other family members. Most of them are. So we are up 55 more students than we thought we would be at this time last year. Right now, I do see that increasing. I don't know if it'll increase as much as the 55, but I did put a couple of student increase on every grade level, looking at probably 30 additional students for next year, projecting 1,155 students. The area that we have a little more concern about for next year is our first grade moving into second grade. I think we have 31, and my last count might be more than that now. I don't know if you remember Dr. Rabbiola. I think 31 new students in first grade this year. So we have to keep an eye on that and see if that number really increases from first grade to second grade, because our class sizes are getting a little larger in those grades. The other area we'll look at is we currently only have 89 kindergartners. So if we have that increase, that big increase again in first graders, we're gonna be okay. But we do wanna make sure that, we do not hire a 5th kindergarten teacher until we see where our numbers are for next year. Any questions about projections? I just want to share with you some great news. We had the West 40 compliant visit on Valentine's Day. Great day. They didn't even bring us treats. But they came in and looked at 3 main areas. They looked at our curriculum and our programming. They looked at all of your board policies, and they looked at our buildings and grounds. So 3 different people came from West 40. 2 of them spent the majority of their time with me, and then one of them went from building to building, literally walked in every area, every classroom, opened every door, and looked at our compliance. In the curriculum programming side, they looked at our required subjects. They looked at our ELL program, our special ed programming. They looked at our student files, that if we are collecting the data that we should be collecting. On the policies, they looked to see if we have required policies that need to be with the board. They looked at all of our BOA procedures, our district and our school procedures. They looked in our files in the district office, went through personnel files, made sure that we were in compliance. For our buildings and grounds, they looked in every classroom. They looked to see if we have a safe environment. They looked to see if we have the proper emergency plans, if things are posted where they should be, if, identifying any areas of growth for us. We haven't received their final report yet. However, what they shared with us when they left that day was we were 99.8% in compliance. We have a couple of areas that we need to work on. They're very minimal, but they are a couple of things that we need to improve on in order to get to that 100% in compliance. They turned this report into the state of Illinois in May, so we have a little time to kind of get our 0.2% other areas. And I know one of them was at Lee, they have the emergency maps on the back of their folders, emergency folders. And some of the teachers had put those together with their emergency backpacks, but those actually have to be posted on the door. So Dr. Rabbiola has already worked on new maps for all the doors, so we can post that. So that folder can still stay in that backpack, that emergency backpack, but then we have the routes for fire or tornado or any kind of emergency posted on the doors. So we've already taken some steps to close that, but really proud of this. We've been working on this. I think we were notified in September about the compliance, started working on it right away, and everyone has worked very hard on it. Derek walked around with the gentleman who did buildings and grounds, and he was really impressed with all of the feedback of the classrooms. So really proud of our teachers as well. And then my final piece is the Leiden-Norwood Athletic Association. As I know, a couple of the board members were at the basketball tournament, the boys basketball tournament. And one of the suggestions that I received that I actually brought to the association, the Leiden-Norwood Athletic Association, was the possibility of moving the big tournaments to the high schools. So next month at LNAC, we are voting on this. So I'm sharing this with the board today, so you can share any feedback you'd like me to bring back to them. They are looking at hosting the basketball tournaments at one of the high schools, so that would be Elm, Ridgewood, or Leiden. And the 3 superintendents have agreed to allow that to host the schools, host the basketball tournaments. One of the main reasons is the basketball tournaments, of course, have a lot of attendance. And when you have a gym, this particular one was at New Ridge, there's not a lot of space. Our gym doesn't have a lot of space as well. So if you move the basketball tournaments to the big areas, people are able to spread out, people are able to move, and sometimes that just helps with crowd control. So the high schools have agreed to provide security. They will charge LNAC for the cost of the security. They've agreed to provide a cleanup, which again would turn back to LNAC for the cost of the cleanup. They will operate their own concessions, and they will be able to hold multiple games at the same time due to their space. Like Ridgewood can have literally 4 games going on at once.
So Ridgewood's gonna have they're gonna do their own concessions, or LNAC?
Ridgewood,
Okay.
the high schools will have their own concession. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, it's great.
Okay.
Oh,
And then the multiple games at one time will be great too, because it ends up being a whole week long of games. So this does allow, it's just easier even on our parents, on our staff who attend, on our administrators who attend. They will no longer charge an entry fee to families for the tournament. And they continue that an administrator from the schools that are playing is required at the games. We did have an administrator at the games. So if you are in agreement with these, I will move forward for our vote for New York School District meeting. Now, I would actually think one of our board members actually made the suggestion, and I brought it to LNAC, and they said, great idea, let's move them out of the smaller school spaces and into the high school. And of course, the high school, all three of the high school superintendents were at the meeting, and they all agreed immediately. So it was really nice. And, oh, I'm sorry, one last thing, I apologize. I'm going to be bringing to you next month an action item or a consent about hiring some additional summer workers for our D&G group. They're looking at 3 summer workers, lawn maintenance, painting, and any of those additional items that they can bring up. This would be a 17, 18-year-old, most likely student from Ridgewood. We've done this the past 3 years. It's always been successful. They don't drive any of our trucks or tractors or anything like that, but they do lawn maintenance, pulling weeds.
Can you make it just policy so that you don't have to come back every year? I mean, it's really a no-brainer to hire summer help.
I will look into how I can do that. Sure.
Yeah.
You'll still have to approve the hire, but I won't have to ask you for it.
This is beneficial to us to have cheaper labor.
And that's it.
Board, any questions, comments? Thank you, Mrs. Music. Board comments in general.
I have.
Sure.
As you know, every year we're trying to have a kindness day. What you doing over there? This year it's going to be changed. The name is changed to Community Kindness Day, and it's going to be on April 29th. Community Kindness Day, because now we are not afraid to take on Harvard Heights as well as a part of building kindness, which, once again, I love what you guys are doing over there. It's nothing like that. So if we can figure out what exactly and how we with District 80 would like to be involved on April 29th, that would be great. And if we just figure on this being a yearly event, that would be even more wonderful. That's basically all I have, President.
Anyone else?
I have a question. So, May 11th, the president and our governor are going to declare that COVID is over. And I'm just curious, I realize we've got 2 more meetings before this occurs, but have you heard anything about that? How is that going to work?
Sure. So the main parts that will affect a school with this declaration is the additional days that staff receive for COVID would end at that point, and the remote learning emergency. So not the e-learning days for weather-related things, but the remote learning emergency days would end. We don't currently have anyone that is remote learning that's not in a program that's approved by the state of Illinois already. We do have a student at West 40 in the remote learning, but that won't change. So I don't see a lot of things changing for us. We've really peeled back on our mitigations for COVID already.
Okay.
So I think other than not providing staff with the days, I don't see how that really will affect much for us.
Okay, thanks.
Good question.
I'm going to take a minute and just speak from the heart here on behalf of the board. Dr. Craig Schilling, who is the district's financial consultant. Some of you may know him. We definitely have got to know him and appreciate his efforts. Craig, I know you're probably going to watch this tomorrow or whenever, but our condolences go out to you and your family for the loss of your son. We understand it was unexpected, and our hearts and our prayers and our thoughts are with you and your family. Craig's a valuable asset here to our district. He's been here long before any of us got on board, and he helped us through many things, through 3 of our teacher contracts, and just the transition when we got on board. So, you might not see him, but he's definitely, here and does a lot of work. When he is here, he's usually in the front of up here. Alan, I'm sure you know who Craig is. So, Greg, our condolences are with you and your family, and our hearts and our thoughts go out to you. I'd ask the board to consider a motion to adjourn the closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees. Purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, which include meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired. The selection of a person to fill the public office as defined in the Open Meetings Act, including a vacancy in the public office. When a public body is given power to appoint under law or ordinance of the discipline, performance, or removal of the occupant of the public office. When the public body is given power to remove the occupant under the law or in accordance with Illinois compiled statutes. Collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. And review of closed session minutes, all in conjunction with Illinois compiled statutes. Any discussion on that? I'll ask for a motion for everything I just read because I don't want to read it again. Motion. Second by Lou. Dan will come.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano? Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Mr. Palazzo?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
All right, that carries. We'll know the time, it's 8:31. We'll be in closed session, we'll say 8:45, 14 minutes. Okay, we're now back in open session at 10:41 p.m. Moving on to our action items, I'd ask the board to consider a motion to approve Norwich School Board member Fanny Theodore to fill the member vacancy until the election in 2025. Any discussion? Okay, now I'll ask for a motion to approve Norwich School Board member Fanny Theodore to fill the member vacancy until the election in 2025.
Motion. Second.
Motion made by Molly, seconded by Maria. Deanne, roll call, please.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano? Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
And Mr. Palazzo?
Yes, that motion carries. I'd ask the board to consider a motion to approve the curriculum and tuition fees for the 2023 through 2024 school year. Any discussion? I'll now ask for the motion to approve curriculum and tuition fees for 2023 through 2024 school year.
Motion.
Second.
Maria, seconded by Frank. Roll call.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Palazzo?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yep.
And Mr. Mazzano?
Okay, carries. Personnel action items. Employment. I'd ask the board to consider a motion to approve the hiring of Christina Kruger as district paraprofessional. Discussion on that. Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve the hiring of Christina Kruger as district paraprofessional.
Second.
Frank, seconded by Molly. Roll call, please.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mr. Palazzo?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano? Mrs. Lala? Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Okay, carries. I'd ask the board to consider a motion to approve the letter of resignation from Jennifer Foley at the conclusion of the 2022-2023 school year. Discussion. I'll ask for a motion to approve the letter of resignation from Jen Foley at the conclusion of the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
Maria, seconded by Frank. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mr. Palazzo?
Yes, carries. I'd ask the board to consider a motion to approve the contract with Coordinator of Business Services for Kimberly DeVore, effective March 1st, 2023. Christian, in that show?
Correct.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, I'll ask for the motion to approve the contract for Coordinator of Business Services for Kimberly DeVore, effective March 1st of this year.
Motion. Second.
Okay, motion made by Molly, seconded by Maria. Deanne, roll call.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano? Mr. Palazzo?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. The ever so important board reflection, Michelle?
Yes, yes, we're getting that. Yes.
I know it's late, but please take your time with this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Yeah, motion.
At 10:45, motion made by Lou.
Second.
All right, second, all in favor? All right, meeting is now adjourned at 10:45 for those that matter what time it is, 10:45 is the adjournment time.